Hello, grade 10. So I've added exercise 13C today. Obviously, you can check the examples in the textbook to guide you, but I'll show you my method to do it and see if it aligns. I've not even looked at the examples in the textbook, but I'll show you how I would do it. So you're going to be solving equations now, solving trig equations, bearing in mind the unit circle and the sine, cosine and tan graphs. Now, this is a no calculator paper, so what that means is you need to remember your exact values. Now, if you remember the little triangles that I taught you, so you've got 45 and 45, right angle, excuse the online pen, and this was 1 root 2, and then you've got the other triangle which was 30 and 60, and that was 1, 2, root 3. So from there you can find out what any exact value is. So for instance, if I wanted sine 45, I would know that sine 45 is opposite, which is 1 over hypotenuse, so it's 1 over root 2. If I wanted sine 30, that would be opposite over hypotenuse, so that would therefore be 1 over 2, and so on. If I wanted cos 60, then it would be adjacent over hypotenuse, so cos 60 is actually the same as sine 60. So, using these exact values, you can now solve solve for equations. So, let's do the first one. So the first one says sine x equals root 3 over 2. Now, if you're not sure, this is me doing exercise 13C, and I'm modelling 1A. So how would I solve that? Well, first of all, I would need to know my exact values. So root 3 over 2, and it's sine. So sine is opposite over hypotenuse. So which one gives me root 3 as my opposite? Well, it has to be 60. 60 has an opposite of root 3 and a hypotenuse of 2. So therefore I know that when I do inverse sine of root 3 over 2, I therefore get 60 degrees. Now, the question says for negative 360 to 360. So I've got to find all the possible values between that range. Now, if I was to draw the sine graph, which by now you should all be good at drawing, you should remember that it goes up, and then it goes down, and then it goes back up. And if I continue this into negative, it goes down, it goes up, and it goes back down. So obviously this is 360, this is 180, that's 0, that would be negative 180, sorry, delete that, that would be negative 180 here, and that's negative 360 here, and then obviously in between is negative 90, that's 90, that's 270, and that's going to be negative 270. My pen won't allow me to fit that in properly. So we know that 60 degrees root 3 over 2 is going to be somewhere, obviously I've not drawn this entirely accurately, but 60 degrees is somewhere here. So I could say that that's root 3 over 2. Approximately, it doesn't really matter if accurate. Now if I change a colour here and I draw a straight line right through that, what do I notice? I notice an intersection point here, an intersection point here, and an intersection point here. Now I already know this one. I know that that's 60 degrees. So how am I going to find the other ones? So this is where the unit circle comes into play. So if I think about the unit circle, all sine, tan, cos. Remember, all Scottish teachers are cool. And what you do here is, because it's sine and the root 3 over 2 is positive, that means I tick the all in the sine because it's positive. So right here, the root 3 over 2 is a positive number. Pen. Can't put more than one thing on the screen. Let me just rub that out. So this here is positive. Now, because that's positive, I tick the positive quadrants, which are all in sine. If that was negative, I would tick the C and the T because it's the opposite quadrants for negative. But we're just dealing with positive just now. So what do I do next? Well, if you remember the rule states that this is x, which is 60 degrees, which we've just found. This is 180 minus x. This was 180 plus x, and this was 360 minus x. Now, if I use a bit of common sense, I can see that this point here is obviously less than 180, which is correct because I'm going to use this quadrant here. So to get the next angle, I have to do 180 minus x, which is 60. So x is equal to 120 degrees. So that angle in here is 120 degrees. So that's us found two of the angles. But now I need to find the angle in here and the angle in here. Now, if it's cos, it's easy because it's symmetrical. So the answers on the right are going to be the same as the answers on the left, but just negative. But this one's a little bit different because this is actually 360. And I'm going to add 60 because I'm getting less. And this is 180 and I'm going to minus 60. So if you think about this logically, I'm actually going in this direction now for the negative one. So if I was at 0 here and I go in the negative direction 60, then 360, so it's negative 360, and I'm going to add 60 to it, okay? Because this is 0 going this way, so when I go all the way around the circle and I come back, what am I ending up here? I'm ending up at negative 360. So the first angle is obviously 60. So that's why it's negative 360 plus 60. So I can write that down. X is equal to negative 360 plus 60. So that's that bit in there. And then if I go in this direction, I'm at 0. And it's going to be negative 240. So from the sine quadrant, you can see that if I go all the way around here, this is negative 180. Okay? But if I go back 60, if I go in here and draw the x, which is also 60 here, then if I keep going round, even more negative, that's going to take me to negative 240. So the other angle is x is equal to negative 180, negative 60. So that's going to give me negative 300 and negative 240. Now if you pick up your calculator now this is a non-calculator exercise, so you got to show you're working like this. I wouldn't have drawn every single bit of this if I was doing it myself. I'm just trying to show you every single method that you can possibly use. I just like to use it straight from the graph, to be honest. This bit here, I just go straight to the graph and visualize where the actual values are, so I can see clearly that it's 180 minus 60, I can see here that it's 60, 180 minus 60. This one's before the 180, so it's going to be 180 minus 180 minus 60. And this one's to the right of the negative 360, so it's negative 360 plus 60. So you can use a bit of common sense there. But if you understand the unit circle as well, you can see that I was using these quadrants. So these are my two angles of 60. So it's easy to do the first ones because you've got x, and then you've got 180 minus x. But if you're going negative, which you should know from the previous exercise anyway, then it's going to be negative 180 negative 60, which gives me negative 240, and also negative 360 plus 60, which gave me negative 300. So I hope that helps you with question 1. Let's see if we can do question 2 on the same video. So if I go to select and move down now, there we go, everything's working fine. Right, so if I have a look at, let's do, I'll do F because F's quite a tricky one. Now the only difference really with question 2 is it's given you negative 2 pi to 2 pi, which you should know in radians is negative 360 to 360. So instead of giving your answer, which in question 1 is all angles, you've got to give your answer in radians, i.e. in terms of pi. But F is confusing to people, but it's not actually that difficult. So it's sine theta equals cos theta. Now, you could draw the graph and you could draw sine theta equals cos theta, like we've done in the past, and find the intersection points. But that could prove to be quite challenging if you're not good at drawing graphs. So what you do is you remember the trig identity that tan theta is equal to sine theta over cos theta. So what I'm going to do to both sides is I'm going to divide both sides by cos theta. So when I do that, what do I end up with? I end up with sine theta over cos theta, which is tan theta, and cos theta over cos theta, which is 1. Okay, so what gives me 1? Let's look back up at our triangles. Well, what gives me 1 is here and here. So therefore it's going to be 45. So tan 45 is equal to opposite over adjacent, which is 1 over 1. So if I do inverse tan of 1 over 1, that gives me 45 degrees. But I need to put it in radians, so I should remember that pi by 4 is 45 degrees. Okay, that's given me one of the angles, but now I need to remember that it's negative 2 pi to 2 pi, which is the same as negative 360 to 360. So again, this one I'm not going to draw the tan graph because the tan graph's a pretty awkward one to draw. So I'm just going to use my unit circle now. And I've got all Scottish teachers are cool. And then I see that the 1 is positive. So if it's positive, that means I tick the all. You always tick the A for the positive all, which is X, which we know is 45 degrees. And you also tick the T because it's tan and it's positive. And we know that tan is 180 plus X. So we've got theta is equal to 45. And we can also work out the next theta, where theta is equal to 180 plus 45, which gives me 225. So that's me worked out the two positive answers for this. Now I need to find the negative one, so this is a tricky bit. So what I've got to remember is that my angle 45 is here and in this quadrant. So 45 there and 45 there. Now I've got to find the negative of that. So remember, if this is negative 360 and 0, if I go negative 360 and I go in this direction, what am I technically doing? I'm doing negative 360 plus 45, which is equal to negative 315. Now in this one, it's 0, that's negative 90, and that's negative 180. So if I want to go back 45 this time, it's going to get less negative. So it's going to go closer to 0. So negative 180. I'm not going to subtract 45 this time. I'm going to add 45 this time. And that gives me negative 135. Okay, so I'm just going to sum this up here. So what are all my answers? So theta is equal to 45, 215, negative 135, and negative 315. Now, I'm not going to get all marks unless I put it back into radians, which is what it asked us for. So 45 I know is pi by 4. But how am I meant to know 215? Well, you need to know your 45 times table, basically. So how many times? It's going to be 4 times, 5 times. My brains went froze here. So if I times that by 4, I get 160. 180. So 215 is not a multiple. Why? 225 is a multiple. So have I done a calculation error? No, 360 plus 45 is fine. Well, if in doubt, what do? You do 215 times by pi, and you divide it by 180. That's 43 over 36 pi. Oh, okay. I knew I'd made a silly error. This is 225, which makes everything... You're probably screaming at the video right now saying, "Shut up, Mr. Man, you've made a silly mistake." Yes, I have. That's 225. So that makes life a whole lot easier because I knew that these should have been multiples of 45. So that's obviously going to be 5 pi by 4. That makes life a hell of a lot easier. This one is going to be negative 3 pi by 4. And then this one is going to be 7 pi by 4. And you can always just, well, if you're in an exam, you're not going to have a calculator to check it, so it's best to try and get in a habit of knowing how to do them without calculator. But if you're still a bit cagey, from now on you can always go to your calculator and check it. Alright people, I've done 2F for you, and I've done 1A. If you need me to do a video for any more, in fact I will do one more actually. I'll do one more because I'll do the actual full equation for the squared one so that you can see. So let me do 3D, and then you can always go back and try it yourself. Oh no, what's happened? I need it. How do I get a new page on this? Well, you've already got this on video, so I suppose I could just delete this bit if it allows me to. Surely it would give me a new page. Does it make any sense? Okay, so there's the full page of what I've done. How do I insert another page? Surely there must be another way. You can't have a document that's just got one page. Nope, sorry people, it looks like I'm going to have to save this and open up a new page for it. So let me just save that so I can keep it for later. Remember, you can just skip this part. Just scroll along, grade 10, extended exercise 13C. All this faffing about, you can hopefully fast forward to another 30 seconds and we'll be ready to go. Okay, let's open up another one. Needs to go a complaint back to Microsoft why you can't just get another page. If you do know how to get a new page on the same doc, let me know from the iPad. Right, here we go, 3D. So it says 3 tan squared x minus 1 equals 8. So this is just like solving an equation. Imagine I had 3x minus 1 equals 8. We would all be able to solve that. What would we do first? Would we divide by the 3 first, or would we take the 1 over? Of course we would take the 1 over, and then we would divide by 3. Okay, so it's just like that, simple linear. The only difference is we've got a tan squared x in there, so let's deal with that. So we would move the 1 first, so tan squared x equals 9. Then we would divide by the 3, so tan squared x equals 3. So very similar to that. The only difference is I've now got tan squared x. So when you've got a squared there, I obviously need to take that squared to the other side. So it's going to be tan x equals the square root of 3 plus or minus. So this is where it gets a bit tricky because we've got plus or minus root 3. So we've basically got tan x root 3 answers and tan x negative root 3 answers. So we've got to basically do the same thing as I was doing earlier, but twice. A bit annoying, but it needs to be done. So what's next? I now need to draw my triangle. So which one has root 3 in it? Well, it's the 30 and 61, if you remember. But this is 1 This is 2 and this is root 3. So which one gives me tan? Root 3. So tan is opposite over adjacent, so opposite over adjacent. So it's 60. So I know that if I do inverse tan of root 3, I know that it's 60. So this is why these triangles are so important when you're solving trig equations. So I know that that's 60. But in the question it says from negative 180 to 720. So basically I'm going to find all the possible values and then just choose which ones are within that range. Now the fact that this is 720 means I have to go into another cycle, because 720 is 360 times 2. So that means I have to go into the second cycle. And when you do that with tan, each cycle is 180 degrees. So we've got to just keep adding 180 degrees onto our original answers. Now, here is the extra piece of information. So you've probably heard me talking about if it's positive or negative. Now, in this case, this one is negative, okay? But we already know the inverse tan of root 3 is 60. But when it's negative, we've got to tick the other quadrant. So for negative root 3, all sine, tan, cos. And for positive root 3, all sine, tan, cos, we're going to tick the quadrants which are positive. So if this is positive, that means I tick all and tan. However, if it's negative, I tick not all and tan, but sine and cos because it's negative. So I hope that's very clear. You still figure out what x is. You forget about the negative and you still find out what x is, like this. Oh, my pen's just turned off. And you find out what this is, 60, but you tick the different quadrants. So if I want to find just all the positive ones here, let's start writing over here. So if I do this one first, tan x equals root 3, then this is x, which is 60, and if you remember from the last one, this is 180 plus x. So x is equal to 60 and x is equal to 240. Now because tan goes in cycles of 180, what I have to do is keep adding 180 to my answers. So 60 plus 180 is 240, so I don't even need to work out that one. But then I have to do 240 plus 180. So 240 plus 180 is going to be 420. Then I have to do 420 plus 180, which is going to be 600. And then if I do 600 plus 180, I get 780. Now as you can see, 780 is outside the range, so I don't need that one. So these are all the positive values for when it's root 3. Right, let me do it now. So this is for positive root 3. Now let me look at all the positive values for negative root 3. So looking at this quadrant, you can see that this is 180 minus x, and you should remember that this is 360 minus x. So x I know is 60. So when I talk about x, that's 60. So 180 minus x is going to be 120. And 360 minus x is going to be 300. Now, again, I've got to keep going in the cycles of 180. So if I do 120 plus 180, I get 300. If I do 300 plus 180, I get 480. If I do 480 plus 180, I'm going to get 660. And then I know automatically if I go any higher, it's going to be above 720. So I don't need to go any higher. So this one here is negative root 3. So that's the answers to negative root 3. Right, that's given me from 0 to 720. Now I need to look at the negative side of it. So all I've looked at is the positive answers. So I've still got more answers to find. So if we look at the diagram now for this one here, I need to do the negatives. Now remember, negative is 0 all the way around to negative 360. So I'm going in this direction. Now I'm in this quadrant, 60, and I'm in this quadrant, 60. So therefore, if this is negative 360, then it's going to be negative 360 plus 60. So that's going to be negative 300. But that's outside of the range. So what do I have to do? I have to add 180 to it. So if I add 180, I'm going to get negative 120. And then if I add 180 to that, what am I going to end up with? 60. So it all goes in a line. So this one, I don't need because it's outside the range. So that there is for root 3. So that's all of root 3's answers. All of root 3's answers is 60, 240, 420, 600, and 120. That's all the answers for plus root 3. Right, now if I go to negative root 3 and do the same thing, this time, if we remember, this is negative 360 and this is 0 and I'm going in this direction. But this time, the 60's in here and the 60's in here. So what would that be? Well, if that's 0 here and that's 60 down the way, then that's going to be negative 60. And if this is negative 180 and I go in this direction, it's going to get even more negative. So it's going to become negative 240. Now, the range is to negative 180. So do I need this one? No, I don't need that one. I only need this. I need this, 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 and this. So that is a really complex question. That's probably about 9 marks in IB. But the black writing is for... So the black answers is for negative root 3 answers. And the red writing answers are for positive root 3. So you actually have to create 2 different cast diagrams, as we call them, the all sine tan causes. Now, I don't expect you all to get this first time. Watch the video a couple of times, try it yourself. Good luck, drop me a message, let me know how you're getting on. And fast forward any bits that I've paused or delayed, or you get it. Cheers.